I think for me, it's more than love. Shirley filled a huge, huge void. I've always been isolated. I had a marriage in '93, and she and I rebuilt a relationship after my incarceration. We had separated and gone our own ways. But that was when I realized how empty and void I was. I hadn't put myself into anything, anywhere. So that was where the whole pen pal thing started, that Shirley and I, that's how we met. And just meeting her, I felt that I opened up, I've emptied everything into her. There's nothing in my life she doesn't know and share and do. So it's more than love. It is a companionship, a life, a world. Same as my kids have a mother and father, we've given them that. Well, I've got Shirley, and that is my world. Well, obviously my name's Dean Kellogg. I'm a self-proclaimed writer. I claim officially to be a writer because I've actually sent a manuscript into a publisher and been declined. I was a troubled child, so grades were tough. English, I always scored extremely poorly, but I always liked writing, and I like to be at home. I like my pets, I like my wife, I like my family life, and writing is one thing that you can work from home and do it. Lifestyle is textbook. Excuses I've got, but excuses only lead to one place, and that leads back to prison, and I can feel perfectly justified. You could interview me through prison bars, and I could be telling you why I did it and justifying it, and I'd be justified, but I'd still be in prison. So that was the defining moment, and it took a long time. If somebody punches me, I can always tell them, you'll never hit me harder than my mother did. If you take things from me, you can't really take much from me because I grew up with nothing. But I did find the lesson I learned: society can place limitations upon you. And if I don't accept them, and this is a quote from a judge, he's a great judge, finds a guy, and the guy says, you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip, Judge. He says, no, but you can put a turnip behind bars. They just warehouse you. And where I was at that point in my life was no longer punishment. It's not punishment. It's called the protection of society. And that's what I keep telling you, is that my biggest struggle is I fall in that category of people that now 85% spend the rest of their life in prison or die that way, either a violent death or in an institution. But that's how they end. I didn't want that. But there is no hope from there. There is no... Especially in the United States, when the federal government slaps a life sentence on you, that's life. It's not like Britain. There's not 10 years of parole hearing. It's life in prison means you die in federal prison. I made so many mistakes in falling into it and chasing into the wrong things. I built a riotous life, and I found myself so unhappy at one point that I needed financially to separate from what I wasn't happy with in life. And I just made a decision one day that one way or the other, I was going to be free of the life I was living. I'm either going to be incarcerated or I'm going to have the money to do it. And I ended up incarcerated. I got in trouble, basically, glorified domestic dispute that led to police being called on me. I didn't want to be arrested, so I got in my car and left. And they pulled me over. For some reason, I just decided that day I wasn't going to be pulled over. So we ended up in a high-speed chase through T-states, and I ran into a roadblock at 120 miles an hour. I was charged with, at the time there were charges of attempted murder, wanton endangerment, reckless endangerment, about 65, 70 years of imprisonment. I did my time, spent my time. They got to know me. They liked me. They kind of understood. So I ended up with 5 years, but they suspended it. And they ran it what's called concurrent with whatever sentence I get in the next. Because every county I drove through those 2 states gave me charges. I had reckless endangerment, wanton endangerment, couple cop cars. I mean, I did try the Smokey and the Bandit thing, smashing in, whatever, which was, that part is probably a bit true. Officers coming up behind you and hitting you. Once I tapped the brakes real hard and it wrecked his car. But at the part when Smokey and the Bandit drives through roadblocks, that doesn't happen. I hit that roadblock at 120 miles an hour, and that is exactly where my truck stopped dead, right there. It didn't go through, cars didn't go flying. That was it. So anyways, I had to face charges in every county. So I still had a criminal record though. So trying to get jobs was difficult. I walked into a restaurant, Applebee's, and I had to disclose. One thing about probation, they force you to disclose your past. And then when you have a job, because you can't stay free if you don't have a job, you have to tell them where they're working. And then they have to come back and verify, did he tell you that? Penny met her. And when I told her what she did, she said, my boyfriend did time in prison. Yeah. So she hired me. And of course, I ended up friends with her. I ended up friends with. Well, my is only part of the 70s Pan Am hijacking that took a plane from Detroit all the way to Cuba. Eventually, was somebody I asked to help me. I was working in car sales and I had my life together. I was actually doing quite well. I'd quit drinking, I was working, but I was heavily in debt. And I had access to tons of cars everywhere. Some guy comes in one day, says, I was told to bring my car here. I'm bringing it here. Dropped his repo off. Suddenly you hear just rumors at work, and they're like, they found this car. They found it out in Chattanooga. It had been involved in a bank robbery. And the guy's got $64,000. Gears are clicking in my head, $64,000 for a bank robbery. So that's how I got into bank robbery. I asked if he'd like to go rob a bank, and we went and robbed a bank. I'll save you the details. It didn't work out too successfully. I mean, Mel pulled over speeding after the bank. His license was expired or revoked. He gave them some. We got caught. I was what was known as a jailhouse lawyer, and it just means that you can act as a lawyer in prison for other prisoners. A lot of people, they'd ask me, what are you doing in prison? I say, I'm doing time, just like you and everybody else. I robbed a bank, I got caught. I'm just doing it the best way I know how. They said, well, you don't belong in prison. I said, no, I do. I said, and so do you. It's a hindering thing. There needs to be something in place, but I don't have the answer. As I explained to you, the people I've tried to help have not had success. We're just not a successful group of people. We, as a group, I have to say I like to separate myself from them. But because I put myself there, it helps to keep me in check. It helps to remind me. My mind works so badly. I was in Terre Haute, maximum security prison, 3 football pitches away from death row. And I'm in the factory and I see 3 barrels. And each barrel says $50 deposit. And I'm trying to think how I can get these barrels and go get the money for them. And I think to myself, I can't even get myself out of this institution. And that's when I started to see the psychiatrist. I said to the psychiatrist, my mind is messed up. I understand it. I don't like it. But and once again, I could make an excuse. I could come back to you. I could be telling you my story from prison, telling you why I robbed another bank. And I could say, well, I tried test and trace. They fired me because of 30 years ago. I tried selling cars. I didn't like it. We were screwing people over. So that's why I'm here. No, you're here by choice. So that's why I'm writing another book. I want to support this entire household, all these pets, the children that need it. I want to help my daughter with her efforts to get into a new house. I want to send my son a wedding present, a nice wedding. I think I was able to send him a 50-pound Western Union money order. You know, I'd like to give him something really nice. And I think that I can do it this way. I believe that I can do it. People read my writings. They say you can write. I believe it. What changed me was Shirley, really. I just had hope. I suddenly didn't want to make people's lives miserable. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want crime. I didn't want anything to do with it. I told you the story about my mindset looking at barrels in a prison factory that had a deposit. So I went and saw I've been advised he's a psychologist, not a psychiatrist, but our psychology department. I saw him for 5 years. In my frustration, he offered to give me the secret to life. Now I know flat out, there's no secret, but still after 5 years with this, and in prison, you're really, really grasping for hope. You're looking for something to lift you out of this and to guide you, because you know you're going out in the world with nothing. If you want to get rid of people, go to prison for 10 years. They fade away. They die. I've had them commit suicide. I've had them leave. I've had it all happen. But very little is left when you get there. So this psychiatrist is offering to give me the secret to life. And he scribbles on this little sticky notepad, the little 2x2 sticky notepad. He folds it and he says, now don't open this until you get back to your cell. But I'm still holding on to hope, man. I still got hope. I walked all the way back to the cell block to open it. They lock you in for the 4 o'clock count and I opened it. It says, work hard and you will achieve.